I'm definitely so excited about this month being June. We just left the Mother's Day, Mother's Month celebration, and I celebrated moms all month long. So this month we flipping the page, and we're gonna turn into celebrating all the dads out there. Okay, I think this holds a special part for me because all year long I'm all about woman empowerment. I'm all about child advocate, women advocate, right? But now I want to switch the page a little bit to our fellas out there. You guys need love, and I'm just one of those women that believe that when women get really good encouragement and strength to men, I think men do a whole lot better. But sometimes women tend to tear men down. And so I'd like to give kudos to those guys out there, regardless of how you've been treated by women, regardless of how the world has been hard on you for various reasons. You've all managed to live up to the expectations that you set in your own mind about what a man actually is supposed to be, and more specifically, a dad. And so dads hold a very particular, specialness in relationship with their children, given the fact that lots of times people do gravitate to the mom because the mom is quote unquote the nurturer. And, that's just one of those things, you carry the baby as a woman, you carry the baby for all those months. And then when you finally deliver, then they're still attached to you because you're constantly nurturing for them. Well, men, that connection happens obviously more so after birth. Unless your kid is anything like my kid, my first was always very interactive with my husband, even in the womb. So it's those situations that I think need to be brought to the forefront of our brain. Because a lot of times people forget. People don't show, as much uh, attention to this thing here that needs to be discussed. I mean, at the end of the day, it takes two to make a baby. It takes two to actually raise them more successfully. And usually, that's just the way it is. And it's because honestly, raising children is no small task, male or female. And so I really want to go ahead and encourage the guys out here to continue being great dads. And if you're not a great dad already, you know it. I'm not going to sit here and just poke at you and things like that. But I think it's not too late, and you can go ahead out there and make some changes. You're already a protector by nature. And so me dealing with firearms, the encouragement that I see with some of the men that come, they mostly are talking about protecting their families, making sure that, their wife and their kids are protected in case someone tries to harm them. That's always what they're talking about. In most cases, that's what I'm hearing. When I talk to women, it's more so about, oh, I need to learn how to protect myself or me and my kids. But not very often do I hear women talk about protecting their husbands. So it's just funny how that conversation goes, and men go into this notion of firearm training and firearm, expertise with the idea of protecting their family because they are the protector for their family. So let's navigate that a little bit today. So if you're first coming to this channel, I'm Mrs. Trouble, and I'm so happy to have you here. Hey, 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 thank you so much for joining, Mr. Funny and Hector. Hello, welcome, welcome. So I am a licensed firearm instructor for the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and I absolutely love doing my job day in and day out. I can't express to you guys how much gratification it gives to me to see people come to us because they need a little bit of help making sure that they know how to protect their families. And so, as I said before, I celebrate women all year long, as this is a women empowerment channel. I wanted to go ahead and take this full month of June and celebrate the men, as we do have many men that follow this channel, have many men that are students of ours. And specifically giving a special shout out to those dads out there who's making a change and who is making all the world of a difference to their kids in their lives. So I just really wanted to give some breakdown information about how they can protect their families and the things that they do on a day-to-day basis. So let's see. Oh, well, I'm glad I'm the first person to say hi, but you're welcome. And so this is a community discussion. So this is what I plan for this to be every time I go live. I interact with my guests as much as I can. So if you guys are in the chat box area, definitely say hi. If you're have questions and things as I go through, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining, Nathaniel. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, Nate. Yeah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And so I just really, really appreciate, all of you guys joining in, because when I tell you, dads don't get enough credit, just don't get enough credit for all the things you do. So just speaking out from the first thing of my personal experience, I had the privilege of actually having two dads, which is, a really good blessing, right? I mean, honestly, okay, let me be clear. Make sure that I don't get no butt whipping from none of my parents that might be on here now. It's 2025, so I have to explain the two parents, okay? I had two moms, two dads, but it was nothing like that, nothing like this Pride Month celebration stuff, okay? And I'm not making fun of anybody out there. I just have to be clear. I have a biological mom, biological dad, and a stepmom and a stepdad, okay? So I was raised with two sets of parents. And so with that blessing, it has been really just them pouring into me constantly. Mom and dad's pouring into me constantly. And I really love the fact that, one dad, because we're talking about dads, not moms, one dad might spend majority of his time with me. Anytime I'm around, it's about me and him. It's about us spending time going out to go do things and be together, And my other dad, his thing was about really making sure I had a business mind. Like I guess he seen something in me. He knew I was going to be probably more of an entrepreneur than someone going to a 9 to 5. So he tried to instill some of that information into me. And I guess it worked, because here I am, an entrepreneur. Didn't even know that's what I wanted. But nonetheless, I am here with that. But I carry all of these values and so much more things, even just the sense of protecting myself on a day-to-day basis. I grew up in a not so good neighborhood in Southeast DC, and the protection, the security, all of that was extremely important. Being in such a terrible neighborhood, you got to have your eyes open everywhere. So I'm sure they constantly protected me all the time, along with the rest of my family, of course. But again, we're talking about dads right now, so that's what I'm going to focus at. But I really appreciate them instilling certain things into me. Like, if I see a group of guys and I'm walking down the street, don't walk on the same street side of them. You go across the street and you walk on the other side of the street. Little details like that to be able to keep me safe. If a guy says something to me crazy, of course, I got my days. I can go and tell them, So it's one of those things where I felt pretty protected, and safe. And that was extremely important, being a female growing up. It's very much needed. So any dads that's out there with little girls or big girls, whatever you want to say, please continue to be that protector for her. It's going to go a long way, because I look for those same qualities in my husband, and he has it. I would not have married outside of that, to be honest with you, because that's something I need. It's something I've grown up with and I need it. And they also did instill in me to have my mindset that I am my first line of defense. So me learning how to protect myself was extremely important for them too. And so there's things that they took measures to make sure that I knew how to protect myself, whether it was with my finances, whether it was with being able to take care of myself, like get a job, things like that. So there's a lot of different ways that they taught me how to take care of myself, just in case I needed to, for whatever reason, right? So let's see, I'm going back to the chat here. I don't talk like I'm from DC. Lynn, believe it or not, well, first of all, hey, Lynn. Believe it or not, I actually get that a lot. But apparently when I get angry, it comes out a lot. So I guess it just comes from all of the, traveling and just meeting people and, knowing different people and whatnot. So I guess, and especially with certain words, it'll come out for sure. So that's one of those things I've always been somewhat like, I guess I should say subconscious about how I speak, because I feel like when you go into different environments, how you speak speaks a lot for you. And if you can't speak well, then there are certain rooms that you won't even be allowed in. And that's where I've always kind of like try to make sure that I speak at least decent. You know, it don't have to be perfect. It don't have to be extremely proper, but definitely something that I can go into any room and speak the same way. Put it this way. The Mrs. Trouble you see here is the Mrs. Trouble I actually am. You're not getting no fake. So that's how I speak, period. Let's see. Somebody said, what in the tropical? What? Well, you came into Shoot This, and what this is about today is empowering men out there to be great dads that you are. And if you're not a great dad right now, it's never too late for you to go ahead and jump into that dad shoes and go ahead and grow. And also, we're talking about firearms. We're talking about safety, protecting your family. We're talking about all of these things. This is a community discussion. Just like you guys come here and learn from me, I'm learning from you. So if you're willing to stick around, maybe this conversation might be for you, maybe not. So I guess give it a try. So I want to go ahead and jump into, just making sure you guys understand that being a good role model means a lot of things. And especially the way the world is right now, it's very much needed. We're having a lot of these young guys out here that just think being a thug is the be all. And I mean, I just heard about a story that happened recently where in Chicago, a 19-year-old girl who was a rapper possibly got shot by a 15-year-old boy who was a rapper. And I'm like, what? What is all this drill rapping stuff? Like, why this? Why does this have to be the life? And I'm also seeing in the media about how now, back in the day, men might have been measured by how much money he had, okay? Then it might have been another measurement about how many girls the man got, okay? How many women the man had. And now it's about how many bodies the man can get. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any logical sense to me, because we're here to thrive and live, not die. So, you guys, honestly, I want to help change that narrative. I want these young people to come up with a different thought mindset than what they're starting out this society and being. Because at the end of the day, either they're not going to make it until, the generations that's older than them gets old, because they're going to be in the grave by then, or either they're going to make it to that time and we got to be the ones depending on them to take care of us. Can you believe that? I don't know if I want any of them to be my doctor, lawyer, whatever other service I might need when I'm getting older, So this is why I want to be here and encourage you guys as men to go out there into the community and be a good role model for people. Nobody's perfect. Let's just go ahead and say that. Nobody is perfect. I don't care if you're a pastor. I don't care who you are, a parent. We're all going to make mistakes. But please understand, just try to be the best person that you can be and be proud of who you are. Even with the flaws, we all have flaws. Welcome, DMV. I see you. DC women do talk crazy. You definitely don't sound like them. Well, trust and believe. I'm as DMV as they get. I done lived in DC, Maryland, and Virginia my entire life. So when it comes to, firearm use and dads coming to me, getting that training, again, that's the first thing they talk about is how they want to make sure they protect their family. And a lot of times they'll come in there, somewhat kind of macho or sometimes a little humble because they don't really know how to read me to know if I'm going to be judgmental of them or whatnot. And that's not really my style. It's really more so about just helping you really be able to achieve that goal. Because I want the dads to be out there and the men to be out there protecting their family. First off, honestly, it's the most extremely important part. I told you, as a kid growing up, security, safety was like the biggest thing for me. And even now, speaking to the young kids growing up, they're scared. They have anxiety, you guys. If you have any kids, if you've been around kids, they have high anxiety. So for you as a dad, as a man, please be a good role model for them, instill in them different knowledge and different skills that they can take with them to protect themselves, regardless of what the circumstance is, whether it is to protect themselves by way of fist fight, by way of firearm use at some point when you feel that they're mature enough to do that, of course, but even just educating them about firearm safety and awareness. So even when they're young, like 5 years old, talking to them about You know, what do you do if you see a gun? Just give them little quizzes, you know, things like that. So that way that they can actually grow with that knowledge of making sure that they don't necessarily fear guns in a sense that it's taboo. You want them to go into the notion that guns are meant for safety. They are meant to protect you, you know, with that thought process more so than anything. But, you know, if you guys live in an inner city area, the notion around firearms, and this was my experience too growing up, that the only people who had guns was thugs, police, military, you know, that's really about it. And, you know, okay, Secret Service and whatnot as well, any type of security field, okay? So it never was something that I grew up with where civilians had guns, because I lived in the inner city where they didn't allow civilians to have guns at that time. But now DC does, so that's a good thing. But hopefully now I'm working very hard to try to change the mindset around firearms. I never even thought that there was a thing such as sports. So even if you do have a kid that's very much into guns, then maybe that could be a way that you can stir them in a positive direction. Convince them that being into the police force, convince them that doing this as a sport, dealing with firearms, might be a good, healthy direction to go into. I mean, even my own husband's mom hated guns, and she always said he's always been interested in firearms. And, you know, she tried to keep him away from it, but here it is. He's all into it. And it's amazing because he at least was stirred in a positive direction. He's out here helping protect families. And so it's still one of those taboo conversations, because a lot of times when people think about guns, talk about guns, then they have this whole notion that people who own firearms are out there trying to unalive others. And that's far from the truth. I guarantee you guys, 99% of the times when people own firearms, they're being very responsible. They're trying to make sure they follow the law. They only want to protect their family. They want to even the odds, because there's bad people out there who try to take things from you and harm you or your loved ones, and you can't come to a daggone gunfight with a knife or a bat or your fist. You have to have a gun as well. And that's exactly why I'm here to help you guys with that. So J.R. King, thank you so much for joining. All my kids know how to shoot a gun. Very good. Salute to you for that, sir. I appreciate you taking that journey, because again, some people are really afraid of doing that. They don't know, maybe they don't know how to talk to their kids about firearm use. You know, I've seen that so many times before, and it may be just simply because they grew up in an environment similar to what I did, where nobody had guns like that, you know, except for the criminals or whatnot, you know, the thugs or whatever you want to say. So that is a possibility. Maybe they just didn't know how to introduce firearm use to their kids. But I would hope that if you don't know how, that you would get with a licensed instructor, and make a note of it being a licensed instructor, okay? Because you want to get somebody who really knows what they're talking about. And not only that, just because somebody knows how to use a gun does not mean that they know how to teach you to shoot. Please remember that. There's plenty of police officers, military personnel that I have trained their wives and their children because they weren't familiar with how to actually instruct. They knew how to shoot and they shot well, but they needed somebody to come and help them teach their family. And once their family knew how to shoot, then they can go out to the range and have fun together. It's a nice, you know, environment, really, believe it or not, to invite your family and come and hang out and do something fun and liberating. You know, it's a stress reliever. And that's what I always like to try to encourage people to do, because believe it or not, that environment, if you go to the gun range regularly, you'll start to see a lot of the same people. You'll start to, I don't want to say make friends, but you'll become accustomed to seeing a lot of the same faces. And you'll be there enough to know that people generally aren't so, you know, mean as you might have thought they might have been when you first started going there, to be honest. Even today, one of my students today, I was at the range and she got there before me and she was checking in, and she texted me and said, "Hey, I'm checking in, but they confusing me. I'm gonna just wait for you." So I said, "Okay, that's fine." I got in there, and then we go ahead and got stuff situated. And when we were leaving out, she expressed that she really appreciated how kind I was and how patient I was with her, because At first, she was like, this guy's kind of mean. Like, she didn't really like his demeanor, the person who was helping her. And I understood that very much so. But like I'm telling you guys, I told her the same thing. The more you come, the more people will be a little bit more friendly. You just have that stern face at first because there are some crazies out there, and people come in a gun store, believe it or not, and try them. So they can't be extra friendly because they're making sure that they're protecting themselves and protecting you by running a gun store. So they have this, medium that they have to go through. And once they know you, then you'll be all right. You'll be all right. So when it comes to, the whole thought process of people working out there in the community, there's many guys out there who are doing different things to help others. Like, you may have some men that are speaking to the youth. You may have some men that's out there doing do I have any people out here who coach any teams, any kid teams, sport teams? Because those are things that is very precious. You're creating memories and making connections with kids. I can't tell you how much of a connection that is really great, because even if you're not a dad to that kid, you're still inspiring them in some sort of way. Okay. I mean, I didn't play any sports, but what I can tell you is I know plenty of kids that do, and the connections that they have with their coaches and assistant coaches is extremely important. I mean, honestly, I have a stepmom who actually coaches a cheerleader team, and she's been doing it for many years, and she makes really good connections with her cheerleading team. And she helps those young ladies all the time. They have to have deep conversations and things like that about their personal life and help them get through things. So you guys sometimes are a nice segue between parents and teachers to be able to help with different things. And Lynn, thank you so much for doing volleyball. Honestly, really interesting. My daughter actually is about to go to volleyball camp here next week. So she's excited about it. She's just getting into it. So I'm going to try to keep her into it. If you got any tips for me, let me know, because we don't know what we're doing here. I ain't play volleyball. I know how to serve the ball, that's, and hit it when it comes, just natural reflexes, I guess, but I don't know anything about it. So if you have any tips for me to give to her, that would be really appreciated, because we're still learning. Now, when it comes to, men with firearms in the community, outside of being a dad and just being a man in the community, I have noticed a big influx on men not only being firearm owners, but actually getting into being a firearm instructor. And I think that's awesome, because honestly, there is a whole different type of take on somebody teaching somebody how to use a gun. Honestly, because there's whole like safety that we have to be concerned about, and there's many teachers out there that may not have the real experience or maybe not the right knowledge to be able to give that information to people. But when people do take the time to go and get their credentials and become a certified instructor, it means the world to me to say that, hey, you could technically be out here just taking friends to the range, right? But you took the time to go ahead and get the actual credential, so you can be more legit and you can really know what you're talking about, because safety is always key. And sometimes we can learn things by doing it, but we also still need to get that initial knowledge to make sure that we're actually observing and seeing the correct things. I can't tell you how many instructors we've had to come on the team, and they might have been training for years. Actually, even students that we had for years, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I learned something today. I mean, I have students that have been shooting for 20 and 30 years plus, and they're like, I actually learned something today. I didn't think I would. And I think some of that, to be honest with you guys, some of that I believe has to do with the fact of me being a female, because they might have been shocked at first that they had a female instructor. But honestly, I really appreciate them taking the chance to do that, because women are not so much in the gun community, but we are getting more and more. I do know quite a bit of the female instructors, and over the years it definitely has grown, because at first it wasn't many at all, but it is definitely growing. And it's one of those things where we take our nurturing into firearm training. So I think that's one of the reasons why women are successful in this field, because we're already good teachers by nature. So it's men though, because men being dads, you're a teacher as well to your kid. Thank you, Lynn, for giving me that information. Let's see, you said I'm in North Carolina. I wish I was closer. Main tip is play video games. Okay. if we'll help her hand and eye. Okay, that'll help her hand and eye coordination. That's cool. I would definitely tell her that. And she does like playing games. She don't play as much as her big sister does. My oldest is the gamer. But I'll make sure I tell her that. So I appreciate that as well. And she really likes to play the Oculus. Y'all, do y'all got an Oculus out there? Honestly, anybody? Because the Oculus is the future. So if you don't have an Oculus, you definitely need to get one. We even have a shooting range inside the metaverse. My husband designed it, and you guys can check it out at troubledefense.com. If you go on that website, you'll be able to get access to the virtual gun range that we have. So a lot of hand and eye coordination, like you said, goes along with shooting as well. And so that's a plus. So when it comes to these men that's out there trying to protect their families, don't judge them. They just because they're a prepper, they're a provider, they're a protector. That's what they're supposed to do by nature. So it's one of those things where you gotta make sure that you as a man, that you do what you need to do regardless of what other people may say, honestly. As long as you ain't hurting nobody, you're doing great. You know, I can't even judge anybody for being like an overprotective parent, because it's so much crazy stuff out there, you know, and there's so many different ways of approaching children and helping children, because no two children are the same. So you do have to go into it with a certain mindset that, you know, I had a conversation with my daughters earlier today, because my two oldest was telling me that one of my youngest gets away with so much, just saying little stuff with her mouth. And I'm like, no, y'all don't really see. Yeah, she get popped too, but that don't work for her as much as her having consequences for her actions. So because you said this, because you did this, give me that iPad. Because you said this, because you did that, you ain't getting no snacks. Something like that actually resonate with her better. So with that being said, I'm just saying that you have multiple children, you may have to approach how to deal with them individually, you know? And so I thought that was something that I wanted to share with you guys tonight when I thought about that and I'm talking to them about that. Keep in mind that you guys may have kids that's 10 years apart even. So they might even be growing up in a different world than the other ones were. So your parenting skills have to shift with that as well. So keep that in mind as well. And Mike, I see you said that you've seen the gun range. Thank you for joining. Thank you for seeing it. Hopefully you liked it. Did you try it out? You like it? So let's see. Drew, yeah, I know you on there all the time playing spades. Yes. So it's definitely the metaverse is a platform, you guys, if you're not familiar, that you can actually access by using an Oculus Quest. And as I said before, we have a virtual range that my husband designed and operates. And it's one of those platforms where you can actually come in with your phone or with an Oculus to be able to actually shoot at the shooting range. So you can actually access it if you go to troubledefense.com website. You should be able to access it. You will be able to access the virtual range from there. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, my picture is in there. You're right. You're right. Yeah, he definitely put a whole bunch of different pictures in there. So thank you for joining. Definitely come back. Like honestly, get on that scoreboard. It's definitely a lot of fun. Like Mike said, honestly, we have people in there competing for their scoreboard because we want to see who's the best shooter out there. Honestly, there's different prizes and things you can win too. You might win a gift card. So stay tuned to that. And that also, that hand and eye coordination goes a long way. That's one thing that I think a lot of us were raised with, the thought process that video games don't lead you nowhere. Well, now they do. They really do. If you have kids that love playing video games, I encourage you guys to, you know, give them a certain amount of time to be on it, of course, because it's really not necessarily the best for your eyes. But in the reference, just like volleyball, I can't remember your name right now. I'm sorry. Lynn was saying before, the hand and eye coordination goes hand in hand with a lot of things. So even playing video games gives you good hand and eye coordination with shooting as well. So I noticed I had a young man that I was training today with him and his mom. And I asked him, do you play video games? And he said, yeah. When I say he picked up so quick to be able to shoot accurately, even though his mom did outshoot him, okay? But nonetheless, nobody better not come in their house. I'm going to just say that much. Nobody better not come in their house because they're going to get to up. It's definitely, they are great hand and eye coordination, things that you benefit from by playing video games, honestly. And so when it comes to that, also as a parent, you have to understand times change. So if you're not already hip to the fact that, you know, virtual this, virtual that is our future, it's in our current, but it's also in our future, and everything that we're going to do is digital or whatever, you know, by a computer. So those are different things. Like, I had somebody I know now that their son is, how old is he? He was 15, making money on Roblox, showing people how to play Roblox. He was bringing in pretty good, a couple of hundreds of dollars every couple of weeks as well. So, and it was a consistent thing. He actually hosted classes in online to teach kids how to play Roblox. And then there's kids actually in the metaverse now who actually are building. I think he's 16. There's a 16-year-old kid. I might be wrong. He might be 15 as well. That's actually in the metaverse, who's building and selling his builds. Like, he's building virtual worlds, just in case somebody is not familiar what that means in a metaverse. So just like maybe right now in this picture, you see that picture behind you and the signs and everything, he can like build that in a virtual world and then sell it to somebody to put in their place, their virtual place. So there are different things that kids are out there already working in the whole technology type of thing. There's many kids that's going into cybersecurity and IT and things like that. So don't deter them from their video games. Instead, help them curve it, help them use it, utilize it. And if anything, they could actually be a game designer themselves. Who knows? They might want to build or make their own games. So maybe get them into coding, because you have to actually, you know, make whatever you're trying to build operate. So you need coding as well. And so that's a whole nother thing as well, because video games is nothing but somebody designing the way something looks, and then they put coding with it to give it a function. And so these are different avenues that if you have kids that are very much into video games, those might be some fields that you kind of push to them or encourage them to do. But back to our firearms as well, again, there's navigation for that. If you see that your kid is very much into guns, everything that come up on their feed is about shooting this and that, and they listening to that damn, music. I'm just so disturbed by this, about the music, that the fact that the music encourages them to do so much negative stuff. I mean, it's probably not really as much of a difference as I think, and maybe just because my eyes are open now, as opposed to when I was younger. You know, we had, you know, thug music or whatever. We had that, you know, of course. It just, I feel like it's so much worse now. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's so much worse now. Thank you so much. You was trying to, you saw me, DMV. Thank you. Drill music is what I was trying to say. And it's definitely not the same. Hip hop and drill music, totally different. I can't even listen to the drill music. I tried to listen to it just to kind of like see what they listening to and understand them a bit, but I can't even listen to it. It's not even appealing to the ears. I don't even know how they listening to it, honestly. I mean, and for me, I like people to speak life, not death anyway. So that's also a deterrent for me already. If you just talking about bang, bang, shoot 'em up, whatever, I don't want to hear that. Talk to me about some substance. Give me some knowledge, you know, give me a line that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life. Like, teach me something. That's what I want to hear in my music and my hip hop. I'm a real hip hop head. So, and that's one of those things where I just really want that the men in the community are standing up and actually being that type of role model. I mean, even something so simple like, I remember my high school was like 2 blocks away from the nearest metro stop. And lots of kids like myself caught the metro to school. And my principal, he actually would be right there at that corner to make sure that kids was coming to school, that they weren't skipping school. And then he had the assistant principal at the other corner. And like, it's like he was sending them to him, and then he was sending them to the front door. And they were making sure that that happened. And the thing is, those type of things right there probably really meant the world, because when it comes to some of these kids, they may not have the structure in their home as they should. So even if you can just be nice to somebody, you know, goes a long way, because maybe they don't have somebody being nice to them at home. and just teaching them how to actually be a good person. That's really honestly it. Teach them to treat people like you would like to be treated. The golden rule, which is many of us were brought up with that understanding. I don't know where that's going out the window for a lot of these kids, but I don't think that enough grown-ups are actually instilling this in them. I don't think enough grown-ups are actually being a good role model for them either, to show that that's where our mindset is. So definitely keep on continuing to do that. And then also just, speak up sometimes. I took a chance one day. I was at a restaurant by myself, just stopping at a restaurant to grab some lunch. And I seen a group of kids, teenagers running or whatever. And they were running out of a store, rather. And I heard them say that, oh my gosh, you got pranked, da da da. Like, what happened is they made it look like one kid was stealing something in the store, but they really weren't. They were just trying to play a prank on the kid. And I thought about it long and hard, because they were walking across the complex of the shopping center. And so I had some time to think about it, because at first I wasn't going to approach them, because I'm like, I don't even know them. They don't know me. That's kind of weird. My kids would say that's cringy or whatever. But it kept pouring at my heart, because I'm like, y'all need to know, y'all are kids of color. Y'all can't be playing like that in the store in Virginia. I mean, anything could have happened. Y'all could have been shot and never gone home to your parents, or you could have been arrested, And I had to stop them and tell them this, because it was there. It was in my heart. God was just speaking to me. I had to tell them. So, and I was a little bit, honestly, I was a little bit fearful, because I'm like, okay, kids just do some crazy stuff nowadays. And had I been in another environment, probably in DC, I probably would have got all types of B's and MFers or whatever the case is too, just approaching a certain group of kids. But more of us probably need to do that. More of us probably need to do that, and then they can see it as a norm. Because even something so simple as going onto the train, as a kid, as a teenager, you would never hear any of my peers or myself cursing around adults. But you go to the train now, oh, they just cursing, they just doing whatever, they acting a fool. They don't care if it's an adult standing right there or not. So simple things like that, I feel like those moral, ethical values need to be reinstalled into this generation that's coming up. They don't have that sense. And it's a part of us that we all have to actually say something. And know it's a scary thing to do, because why stick your nose in something you don't got nothing to do with, right? Some people really don't want to do that. And I understand why not, because people end up getting hurt over things like that. But as an adult, most times out of not, you should know how to navigate through that, okay? Just back off. If they're not receiving, then just back off. But at least you tried, is what my thought process would be. So that was a bit risky, I will admit. But I did it because it was calling. It was calling at me. If something's calling at you, I would encourage you to act on it, honestly. So definitely, and also listen to your kids. As dads out there, it's extremely important that they not only see that you're making financial ways to protect your family and provide for your family, they need to know that they have your listening ear. If they have an interest in something, that you're going to nurture that interest, and you're going to encourage them to go down that path. They need to be able to come to you and talk to you. If your kids can't come to you and talk to you as a dad, then you need to change something. It's not them, it's you. I'm sorry. It just is. We're not all perfect. And I can tell you that emotions is not my cup of tea. So honestly, I struggle with when my daughters want to come to me and talk to me about something that makes them feel, some strong emotions or whatnot. I have to dig real deep to deal with that, honestly. But I'm here for it. I've opened that door and made that a way that they can actually come and talk to me, because I don't want them going out there talking to somebody else. And my husband does the same. My husband has many talks with my daughters, always, about their life, every day even, and have an individual relationship with each of them. And so those type of things have been extremely important, and values that I want to make sure my daughters have. Because as I said, I grew up with two dads and each of them poured into me so many things. And without that, God knows who I would be. If I didn't have a dad in my life, I really don't know who I would be. I have a great mom. I have a great stepmom. Don't get me wrong. Amazing even. But something about that dad just holds a special spot, right? And so, I mean, honestly, being daddy's girl is amazing. And I'm so touched when I go to the range um, and I see guys at the range with their daughters. Oh, I just be so excited. I just be smiling ear to ear. And I know they probably be like, why that lady looking at us all strange? But it's just because that bonding moment of using firearms, and they took the time to teach their daughters how to protect themselves, be their first line of defense. I really appreciate people doing that. And Junior King, you must have came late, but I have to tell you, it's 2025, and I understand the question there. I know it is Pride Month, but it ain't nothing like that, okay? I have a biological mom, biological dad, stepdad, stepmom. That's why I have two moms and two dads. So yes, so it's one of those things where I don't have any gay parents. No gay parents. But I understand the question. It's 2025, like I said, and it's Pride Month even. So we got to have that conversation, but it ain't nothing like that. But yeah, definitely I can see how that can be the question. So I cleared that up earlier, but I'm glad you mentioned it so I can make sure that's straight, because I don't want to get no pops when I get off this live. So so when it comes to talking to your families honestly about training them and prepping them with firearm use, there's really honestly, I can't speak enough to the value you're actually instilling in all of your children to be able to teach them how to be their first line of defense. I mean, honestly, that's priceless, because as they grow up, there's going to be a whole bunch of challenges that comes their way. But one of the pieces I think that a lot of times people miss is teaching our kids how to deal with things. A lot of times we're so used to nurturing and providing and giving them that we don't give them the time that they need to start to be their own provider, their own nurturer. So, each level of childhood, they should be getting more and more responsibility to do different things. And the biggest piece that I find that the young men are lacking right now, between the ages of, I would say, probably as young as like 12, maybe 13, all the way to about maybe 25 or so. The consistent thing that I'm seeing, and I really want you guys to help with, is men are operating in this emotional state. And a lot of times people don't see it that way, but it really is. When you have people crashing out, so they say, okay, spazzing out or whatever, I'm like, this person just decided to just shoot up his girlfriend's car. What was this, Rod Wade? What? Who does this? Like, these emotional acting men has to be stopped. We have to change this, because we're not going to have a good future if we don't fix this now. And in teaching them about firearm use and things like that, you have to also incorporate the emotional, maturity as well, because they have to understand not only how to use the gun, but when to use it. When is it appropriate to do so? I mean, first off, you don't want them out there hurting someone who's innocent. That's number one. And then second of all, you don't want them end up in jail either, or somebody retaliating and putting them in the ground. So this is why it's an important piece, that not only teaching them about firearm use and safety, but you have to, combat that also with the emotional awareness to control their emotions. If they're acting out of emotion, they're never going to make good decisions. And so that's what we have to understand. Yeah, DMV, I hear you out here. They might be some lost souls, but we're a community, y'all. We gotta be out here helping each other. So it's also us too that gotta help. And I can understand the frustration and even the fear that adults would have with even getting involved with something that has nothing to do with them, But at the same token, somebody gotta do it, right? I mean, honestly, and just small little things. Like I heard on the radio today about a story. I don't know if you guys heard about this, where it was a young man that was witnessed in his cap and gown at a Burger King, working in his cap and gown. And the person who saw him was a mom of a student of the same school. And she noticed him, and the daughter was like, oh yeah, he goes to my school, mom. And she seen that. And she went on ahead and created him a GoFundMe account which collected thousands of dollars, okay? And it just kept going. And it was a blessing to give that to that young man, because Burger King then became aware of it, and they actually gave him $10,000 towards going to college. And also the person's daughter got a $10,000 grant from Burger King. The whole thing about this story was that the community poured into this young man. He ended up with $200,000 to go to college. And guess what? How much of a blessing this was for this young man, because he actually was going to take a year off of not having any school and just working so that he can save to go to college. Now he didn't have to save to go to college. He can just go. Like, things like that is really, you don't know how little details sometimes can go a long way. I know I've learned so many things from strangers along the way, just teaching me different little things, just instilling knowledge sometimes. And it's just amazing the little things we can pour into people. So dads out there, continue to be great dads. And again, if you're not a great dad right now, you know it. You know if you're a crappy dad, but you can change it. Go for it. You know, try to be in your kids' life. Try to be there for them. Try to have conversations with them. Try to pick up a hobby together. Those are different approaches you can to actually have those conversations with those kids and get a better relationship with them. So definitely utilize this time. You're still alive, so that means the clock ain't stopped. You could do it. So, and you're right though. You're definitely right, Drew, when you say that they're so aggressive now. And they are. And it's a lot of times, you know, somebody else taught me something else recently. Somebody who actually doesn't have kids, period. Don't even like kids. But she told me, I was talking to her about anxiety. Why is it that these young kids have anxiety? And I would love for you guys to give me your point of view on this too, because as I'm raising kids, I need to know how to deal with this anxiety. I grew up with thinking anxiety was a made up term that a certain culture of people actually said they had, but it really was nothing. So, I mean, honestly, and I know that sounds really, really ignorant, but that is the way I thought about it. It wasn't until I became an adult that I understood it was very real. And there has been times where I've experienced anxiety, you know. But it's one of those emotions that I don't think people take as serious as they should to actually deal with their fears, you know. And so the young lady explained to me about her thought process. She said, I think the kids just know too much. And I was like, huh? She was like, yeah, they're just too smart for their own good. You know, for example, you can go on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, Facebook, and you can pull up a video about somebody talking about them having a master's degree in school and they can't find a job. And they're in so many thousands of dollars in debt. And they're crying on social media. And then you have other people in the comments coming in there explaining that that's their same experience. So now that young person that's looking at that is probably thinking, well, why would I go to college? I'm just going to end up in debt and can't find a job, just like that person. So that's why she was saying that she thinks that they're seeing things and they're knowing things, they're exposed to things and without having a full understanding of things. And so in some ways they know too much, but all at the same time, they know too little too. I don't think they take the time to fully understand those situations before they try to adapt that to their own lives. So that's where we come in. Continue to encourage the community, you guys. And I'm going to wrap this conversation up by just giving a couple of kudos out there, you know, especially to my dads. Thank you guys so much for being there for me, and I appreciate everything. I want to give a special salute out to my husband for being an amazing dad to our girls. I could not have asked for a better husband, honestly. He just, and baby, you're the reason why I'm into guns, you know? So he actually instilled in me the benefit of being able to be my first line of defense as well. You know, being a female, being, you know, going to and from places, having to work jobs where I would come home at night, things like that. My husband being able to instill in me how to protect myself was extremely important, because that was a worry. It's like, okay, he's nothing but a phone call away, but how many minutes is he away to get to me? To protect me. So I had to be my own line of defense. So any dads out there, you have some daughters, definitely encourage them to learn how to protect themselves. Even if guns is not their thing, please make sure they got some pepper spray, a knife, a taser, something for some other type of protection. And pay for them some hand-to-hand combat lessons or something. You know, be able to help them understand how to protect themselves, honestly. That's a very good gift that you can always give your daughter. Every time you turn around, the sky is the limit as to how many options is out there, honestly. And definitely, you know, I want to tell you guys, just being that role model of how to handle guns, be safe with guns, you know, just being that person goes a long way as well. Because a lot of times people try to put you in a box, you know. They either talk about men very badly or very good. And sometimes we don't really give enough kudos for the everyday thing. You know, the fact that the dad takes the time to make sure that the car is good to go so that the family can travel safely. The fact that the dad is going to work every day to make sure he provides for the family, make sure they have a roof over their head, they have clothes on their back and food in their stomach. You know, working real hard to make sure that the kids have a future. And it's an everyday thing. It's not just these amazing stories of somebody being a celebrity. You know, I want to give you guys kudos and, you know, a salute to the everyday dad, honestly, because that job is hard. It's hard. And when your kid's a teenager, especially if they're a teenage girl, they probably gonna hate you for a little bit, you know? That's just the normal routine of things. So I encourage you to get through that, because when they become an adult, they're gonna love you again. They appreciate you, okay? So stick in there. Don't give up. Don't give up. It's hard, but don't give up. So I'm so glad, Michael, that your daughters do keep some mace. So that's really good. Bear mace, hey, I ain't mad at you. Like I said, no judgment here. Whatever choice you guys choose to help your kids stay equipped in knowledge, you know, go for it. If you like this content today, though, I really appreciate you guys for joining. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up so others can know this conversation was worthwhile. I really love spending time with you guys, having this community discussion. I enjoy just chilling out with you guys, honestly. And I have so many other great people coming in this month. My husband and I think we might be able to do this like the third week. But I know next week I have a special guest. I'm not going to reveal his name right now, but he's a author of, I think, 3 books, maybe 4 books. He was incarcerated and turned his life around, and has a nonprofit organization that helps others all the time. So I wanted to give you guys some encouragement by bringing to you guys some other entrepreneurs that were men out there and dads out there who are helping others. They're not just helping their own home, they're helping others as well. And I wanted to give you some good examples by actually having some of those guests come on the channel. So definitely stay tuned. Every Friday at 8, I'm going to have somebody. Next week, I apologize, it's going to be a Thursday at 8 because this timeline doesn't work with mine. So it's going to be Thursday next week. But I'm going to have it posted so you guys will see. If you're subscribed, press the notification bell. And that way you'll be sure to know when I do go live. And that way you won't miss this inspiring story. This guy traveled and did some range time with me. He did really well. I mean, he was incarcerated and he was a felony, and he actually got his rights back reinstated for him to be able to shoot. So I feel like that's a great encouragement, you know? So I really wanted to bring that story to you guys, and we're going to have him come next Thursday. Okay, so next Thursday at 8, I will see you guys then. And thank you so much once again for joining. So flowers to all the dads out there, firepower to all the families out there protecting yours, honestly. See you guys next week.